Looking for a great Cornish adventure this spring with a mythical twist? Here's how to combine a scenic train ride with an epic coastal walk on your quest to discover the Mermaid of Zennor. Inspired by GWR's new book, The Line to Legend Land, we headed for St Ives, taking the Cornish main line down to St Erth, where we changed onto the St Ives Bay Line, one of the country's prettiest branch lines. So, we've just arrived in St Ives, and look who's here to greet us. To get to the heart of the legend, we headed through town to walk the rugged but beautiful 6-mile stretch of the southwest coast path, leading to Zennor. So this is Zennor Headland, and just down here to our left is Pendower Cove, which is key to our story. To find out more, we headed into the village to St Sonora's Church to meet Keith Wallace from the Cornish folklore podcast, The Piskie Trap. Hey Keith, good to meet you.
Pleasure. Should we take a look inside?
So, for the uninitiated, what's the story in a nutshell?
Well, the story goes that long ago, a beautiful young woman comes to the church here in Zennor. Her visits to the church aren't regular by any means. There are sometimes long gaps and periods where she's not seen. But whenever she comes to Zennor, the people are captivated by her beauty and by her sweet singing. But what really amazes them is that she's been coming to the church here on and off for many years, but she never seems to age. She always remains really young and fair, and no one knows who she is or where she comes from.
Should we take a seat?
Sure. So after a while, it seems that a local chap caught the eye of this beautiful young woman, and this was a handsome man called Matthew Trewella, and he was known to be the best singer in the parish. And it seems that Matthew was equally attracted to this mysterious young woman, because one day after church he went away with her, and afterwards it seems that neither Matthew or this beautiful young woman was seen in the parish again. Sometime afterwards, one Sunday morning, a ship cast anchor about a mile off of Pendower Cove, and just afterwards a beautiful mermaid was seen coming out of the water. And she comes alongside the ship and she calls out to the captain, and she asks him to trip his anchor for a moment because the fluke of it is resting on her house and she's anxious to get back to her children. Now the captain, who's naturally quite superstitious and fearful of mermaids, he immediately hove anchor and he set sail.
So what happens when this story gets back to the people here in Zennor?
Well, when the locals hear about this, that there's a mermaid in Pendower Cove, and they hear the captain's story, they all conclude that Matthew was enticed away by this beautiful mermaid and went to live with her beneath the waves. And to commemorate these unusual events, they had the image of the mermaid carved in holy oak here in the church.
Should we go and take a look?
Let's go and have a look. So this is the carving itself, and many people think that it probably dates to around the 15th century because we start to find lots of carved bench ends from around the mid-1400s, early 1500s. What's interesting is that there's also a Cornish mystery play from around this period, and in this play they talk about the dual nature of the mermaid and the dual nature of Christ being both human and divine. And some people have posed the question, well, which comes first? The story of the Mermaid of Zennor or this carving? Well, as I said, I think possibly this comes from around the 1400s. As for the story itself, the first written account that we get of it comes from a local writer called William Bottrell, who's writing in the 1870s. And we think that he's drawing from a lot of local droll-telling or storytelling traditions. And how far back those storytelling traditions go is a kind of tricky one to answer. But to my mind, what's important is that we're still talking about it, that we're still telling the story, keeping these storytelling traditions alive, and we're still discussing and debating it even today.
Oh, Keith, thanks so much for telling us all about the legend, and you've got a whole episode on this on your podcast. How can people listen in?
Absolutely, yes. So the podcast is called The Piskie Trap. You can find that online, and you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Cheers.
After lunch at the Tinner's Arms, right opposite the church, we bid farewell to Keith and headed to the edge of the village for the bus back to St Ives. Do make sure to check times in advance. So we're back in St Ives, and where better to end our day with a treat than Moomaid of Zennor. For directions for today's walk, just head to walksbytrain.com, where you'll also find a dozen more fab coast path walks from Newquay, Looe, Penzance and Falmouth stations. Cheers!